first part.
Perfect, perfect.
So to see, so to
Is why I look like somebody? Did an angel just tip you? Is that what
yeah,
just
yeah,
happened?
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with Love and Chaos. Welcome, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Ian Christie, alongside.
Kenyon Harris.
Amen. So, Kenny, and today we got a special day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we got a special day, man. We did love. We gonna bring in some chaos into this.
yeah,
And I know you brought a special guest with us, my man Max.
yes, sir. Listen, my man Max right here. I just want you to know. All right, moment I met this man, okay, he was considered to be someone who I thought was like always on vacation. Like he give me vacation vibes. Every time this dude walk by, you feel like, yo, why am I not on a tropical island in my mind right now? Because that's where this man's mindset is. Okay. And then you get to talking with him. And you realize this man right here, definition of this chaos out here
That's right.
in the
So,
most best ways possible.
so
I do what
needless,
I can. I do what I can. I hate to
so
disappoint.
needless to say, family. Needless to say, family. Let's bring in Max, the man who went to Shanghai as an undergrad, and let's just say the federal government wasn't too happy about it.
Mm.
Not at all.
Max,
Not at all.
welcome, 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 Max, welcome.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Yes, Max. So we're just gonna start it off, Max. Introduce yourself. Of course, save some stuff for the later on in the episode. But please tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in what could be considered a normal American family. Middle of Pennsylvania. My mother was a doctor. My father was a spy for the federal government. We got into all kinds of, shall we call them, zany scenarios over the years. I compromised national security for the first time when I was in kindergarten. You know how every class has a show and tell. Everyone brings in something close to them. I
Yeah.
thought it was a great idea to talk about the U.S. government's top secret plan to train dolphins to attack scuba divers and protect ports. The teacher didn't really know what to do when I stepped up and just started spouting state secrets. I'd imagine it must have came as a bit of a surprise, even. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
my brother and I and my father, we all had matching backpacks, U.S. government issued, identical from the outside, which in hindsight is a terrible idea when you have small children going to school. I remember one time my brother accidentally grabbed my father's backpack, and we were halfway to school, and my brother goes to check for his homework, and he opens up the bag, and there's no homework in there. There's several firearms, several bags of ammo, and a whole bunch of sensitive documents. So it's these are the types of situations you can imagine that you get into. Even as
So
a kid, at one point I almost wound up in witness protection because the KKK put a hit on my family. Actually, crazy
really?
story. Oh yeah, save that one for another time. But
Yeah. No, for sure. You gonna
these
make
are
listen, Max. You gonna make me make another podcast just for your situation, okay? I
right.
just need to understand. God damn. And the Dolphins being trained, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Did
the
it,
only
did it did
reason
it fail? And now we have parks now with the water areas where now we can swim with dolphins. Is that
it,
part of the
you
process?
know, I tell you,
Yeah.
I really don't know what the government ever did, whether that plan came to fruition. I do
Okay.
know it was declassified, though, which is why I was
Gotcha.
able to share that story with you guys today.
Okay, perfect.
I
Perfect.
don't want the government breaking down any of our doors here. It's
Yeah,
not good for anyone.
plus we would like to, post this episode, so yeah, let's
Right.
make
So
sure we're all clear, no red tape. All right.
exactly, exactly. So that's a little bit of how I grew up. So I
Gotcha.
always loved China. I love Chinese culture. I love Chinese food.
Mm,
I've been trying to learn the language since I was in kindergarten, and I always really wanted to go. I did some community service there in high school. It was temporary. No one
okay.
really knew who I was. No, not much in the way of issues. But I decided to do my undergrad at NYU as part of their Shanghai program, studying business
Okay.
and finance. I just
Nice.
decided not to tell anyone that that was my plan, right? I figured one of those things, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, right?
Agreed.
So no one really knew. My family, they're like, oh, he applied to go to NYU, which is what I told him, and it was true. I just, left out a few minor details. That
Yeah,
I was going to live in China.
13-hour
So
flight.
obviously came as a bit of a shock. My parents
Yeah.
weren't expecting it, and I didn't really consider that there'd be any issues with it. I told my father the morning. It was the only school I applied for. I did early decision. I got it. I mean, I guess they saw, whatever they saw in me. Like,
Okay.
yeah, we want to take that guy to China. He's the right kind of DJ. Uh, and so I told my father this, and he stares at me for a couple seconds. He looks at me, and he's like, oh shit, I got to talk to your mother about this. And so he talks to my mother. I hear a yell from several rooms away. And then I square away the family stuff. And that
Okay.
wasn't the issue. The issue was at that time my father was pretty late in his career. He was
Okay.
running FBI aviation. He was a bigwig in the counterterrorism department. He was a known entity.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was up there. He was responsible for a lot of stuff, top secret security clearance. He knew a lot. He did a lot.
Interesting. I'm
And so
starting to wonder here, Max.
yeah,
Uh,
way.
I'm really curious how your family background and history has translated into your love life.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, in Shanghai, the Chinese government was able to deduce my father's position, right? And so I was constantly being followed by Chinese state agents. They were always trying to recruit me. They gave me job offers. They offered me visa opportunities, like crazy stuff. No other foreigner would get these types of opportunities. I go to
Okay.
the career fair at my school. Like all the other foreigners are walking around like nobody's talking to them. I got like 6 Chinese guys following me around, trying just begging me to take jobs for various Chinese governmental agencies, right? And so part of that, I kept turning them down. So they tried to change tactics a bit. So I always started getting these women that would approach me in weird situations. Now, in China,
Yeah. How so?
I didn't
Do
eat a
tell.
ton of Chinese food, right? So every Tuesday was Taco Tuesday. I would go to this Mexican restaurant called Pistaleras with my
Mm.
friends every week. Like, it was like clockwork because they had great deals on drinks and, it was like 30-cent tacos. Couldn't beat it.
Oh my God.
And so one day we
Oh,
came there, and this Chinese woman is in an argument with the staff because they ID her, which is weird because nobody gets ID'd in China, right? And so after she gets carded and like they won't serve her drink, she comes up and she uses that as a pretext to come and talk to me. Which
okay.
I'm sitting with a group of my friends. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, my friends are a lot better looking than me, right? She comes right, makes a beeline right to me and starts chatting me up, asking if I ever been carded in China. Which I tell you what, I actually was carded only once, which is kind of impressive. As a foreigner in China, they'll never card you.
Oh wow.
The only time I was carded, I was drinking as many Long Island iced teas as I could at 10:30 in the morning. You might
Wow.
think that that's a bit excessive, but I had a reason for it, right? My
Okay.
school was having a kind of a mandatory required attendance assembly to go over the dangers of drinking in China, of like going to shady bars and getting
Yeah.
drunk and being out of control. So I thought it would be pretty funny to go have a ton of Long Island iced teas and show up for that assembly drunk with 2 friends. It was pretty funny. I got a chuckle out of it. Maybe the professor running the assembly didn't, but I digress. So a woman, she's talking to me, right? And it's really weird. She's saying she works in business. I think she said she worked for Dow Chemical, which I'm like, okay, cool, like that's great. I'm just trying to have some tacos with my boys. I'm not really interested.
Hmm.
And she's striking up a conversation. He gets my number, and she keeps trying to hang out with me. And I'm like, oh, all right, fine. So I have an FBI handler, right, that I have to contact every 24 hours, as per my agreement with the federal government to let me study in China.
Hmm.
Part
Okay.
of that is, they're doing research on all the people that I'm connecting with. They're looking at my friends. They're looking at my associates, and they're especially looking at random people that approach me in bars and give me numbers. So, you know, I send over the contact details for this woman. I'm like, here's who she is. Here's who she's claiming to be. Here's what she says. And I give it a couple weeks go by. They're doing the background check on her, and it's weird because she's saying she works at Dow Chemical. Well, now she works at that Mexican restaurant that I go to every Tuesday. She's a waitress there now. I'm like, what? I'm like, she's like, yeah, I work here now. She's like, oh, I live nearby now. We should hang out a lot more. I'm like,
super easy. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm like, come
You
on.
got
I'm
your
like,
number and got the job interview at the same time.
right. I'm like, listen, I'm not a spy here, but even I can tell you're a spy. I'm like, this is the most ham-fisted approach I've ever seen in my entire life, right? So I can't say I'm shocked when the FBI investigation comes back. Yes, she's a known espionage agent, right? Break contact immediately. And, I tell you what, the agent, my handler, couldn't I ever get that guy to laugh? I did my best. I like to think of myself as a bit of a funny guy.
No,
I
listen.
usually get a chuckle out of people.
Right. But I have a question. Before you keep going, I have a question. Right.
Sure.
They said you're not allowed to talk to. Was she hot? Let's start there.
Yeah. This was the greatest part. She wasn't that hot. Because I wasn't like, this
kind of easy then.
In particular, she wasn't that pretty. So I wasn't really interested anyway, right? So,
okay.
So it made it easy when they said to break contact on that one.
What's that thing called? It's called what? A honey trap?
Yeah, with a honey trap. It was a honey trap.
That's a honey trap failure right there.
I said, I was like, I'm like, they could have at least done a better job with the agent. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
Let me ask you this, Max. Would it have been better if she had a better personality?
I mean, like, it was so shady from the start that like you kind of couldn't help but know.
I wasn't sure.
She's a spy, right? You're just kind of. There wasn't a shadow of a doubt. I mean, if she had a better personality, I guess it would have been a bit easier. But
text him, Tom.
Or it would have been a bit more hard.
Well, no,
but it was kind of a moot point. So.
Thank you for. Oh, there you go.
All right, good. I got worried for a second. I saw it buffering, but I wasn't sure if I was still coming through.
You froze.
You froze.
Okay.
Yeah, no, my Wi-Fi is hit or miss every once in a while.
All right, so what I asked you was, would her personality have made it any better? Damn, they really don't want you
to ask that question. That's not a good question to ask. Stop it, Ian.
That's crazy.
Stop it. This Wi-Fi told you stop it. All right. Told you stop it.
That's the element right there. Like, no.
Yeah, like no, get over it. All right. The fact that he's not allowed is done. All right. Case closed.
I'm back. All right, I'm back. I don't know what was going on.
Apparently, they don't want me asking you if the woman's personality makes a difference, Max. So we gonna skip that question.
We're gonna skip the question.
All right.
They don't want people knowing that all they got to do is be nice and get your attention. That's it. So
they still need you in the future, Max. Okay, we can't have them giving up how to get you.
If she was a bit nicer, I tell you, maybe it would have been a little bit tricky. I told the agent, he told me straight out. He's like, Max, let me be straight with you. He's like, you are not an attractive individual. He's like, if a woman randomly approaches you in China, is offering you drinks or anything, you should just out and out assume she's a spy. Now, I told him, I was like, listen, first off, that just shatters a guy's confidence. I'm like, come on, that's hurtful.
Wait, time out. Wait, so did you choose your own friends when you went to this taco thing? Why were they all better looking than you?
I don't even think they really weren't better looking than me. You know what I tell you? I think I still dressed the best. That's what
1,000%. Nobody can beat you in that one. 1,000%.
The Hawaiian shirts can't be beat, right?
You got him right. You got him right.
What I was gonna say is, it was just weird that she came right to me for no reason, right? Of all the people you could come to, like it was like, I was constantly being followed by state agents, like from morning to night. I felt bad because I accidentally got the one guy reassigned because I was bored one day and I went up and said hi to him because, follows me every day for 3 months. He knows my whole routine. I see where he goes and gets his breakfast while he's spying on me. It's like, hey, some days you get bored, you go say hello, and then I said hello, and like they knew he was compromised, they switched him out with some other guy. So
Wow.
that kind of stuff happened to me a lot. And over my time, I was approached by two Chinese spies and one Russian spy over the years. So basically, I kind of just had to stop dating for a while in China because it kind of got to the point where it's like any person I date, might be trapped by the Chinese government. It might end up with me in legal trouble. I could get arrested in China or I could get arrested in the States. It just wasn't worth the hassle.
Okay.
So
no love out there. We done.
I
No
would
love.
say, I have been cock blocked by the federal government more than the average guy.
Damn.
I don't know what the average is for most people, but I'm
No worries.
assuming it's less than one.
I agree.
It's been
I
several
agree.
times for me, which is
You're
I'm
definitely
sure
in the 1%ers, my guy. You definitely.
that's what
So
I
just-
I do my best to stay unique.
Yeah, they do their best to make sure you do too. Don't worry about it. I
So
think
what
you got
about
the same agenda.
what about over here in the United States? We got any lovers, anything like that over here?
I just went out on some good dates this week. I went out
Okay.
with this nice girl. So we're went out last night. We had a good time. We went and grabbed dinner. I think there's a nice connection there. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
So at danger of this thing freezing again,
Sure.
where does a high-ranking espionage son take a woman out on a date?
That kind of so this is actually where my training and background comes in handy, right?
Oh, this
Because
should be good. Go
they
ahead.
give you a lot of like classes on profiling, on identifying interests, small talk conversations,
Okay.
how to work a room. That's part of counter espionage training. You're trained. Like, let me tell you, as a kid, I had no charisma at all. I hated talking to people. I'm a very quiet kid.
Yeah.
Obviously, quite a bit has changed since then, right?
Yep.
Well, I also worked as a lobbyist for 6 months, which you need to learn how to talk well to politicians. That was a whole mess. Save that one for another time. No one
Yeah.
needs to hear about politicians on this talk show.
Definitely not.
And so, part of all that training is you're really good at gathering intel from people. You use small talk, you use like various texts to gather like interest, hobbies, what do they like to do, what type of food do they like, and then I use that to basically kind of customize a date, I would say. So tailored to the individual, right? If somebody likes to get food for their first date, maybe I'll go and get a cheap meal or someplace reasonably priced, especially for a first date. We don't want to be dropping G's on a first date. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Nah, I hear you. There should be a step. Right? So now here's the question then.
Yeah. Go ahead.
From what you just said, what date did you choose for this last one you're on?
No, yeah, we started at a restaurant, and then I took advantage of the snow. I said, we don't get this much snow in New York. Might be a good time to go to the Timeout Market there in Dumbo, see all the sights with everything with the snow on. Like the view's going to be really good.
Okay.
On the rooftop, and because it's so cold out, there weren't too many other people out and about. So basically had the whole area to ourselves. It was a beautiful time.
Amazing.
Nice.
So got to take advantage of your scenarios, the situations, the background, the weather, everything to plan a good date, right? Tailored to the person you're going out with.
Listen, y'all take advantage of that. That's some real gold stuff right there.
That's
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let me ask you something, Max. This is something that our entire podcast, I'm pretty sure, is going to come up frequently with multiple of our guests. In your opinion, who pays for the first date?
So this depends on how successful you want the first date to be, right?
Okay.
If I'm never trying to see the person again, I'll be like, oh, why don't you cover it?
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed way to end the date. Like if you're not feeling it, or if it's so bad that you need to make an exit, call, oh, I got to run to the bathroom real quick. You run out the door, right? It's their problem. This is also at an individual level, right? There's some girls that want to pay for the first date. Now that's extremely rare, and you're probably a really good looking guy if that's the case, right? I want my partner to at least, I like it when they offer to pay, right? If they offer to pay, and it's for the first date, and I like the person, I'll cover the first date. Fine, I'll cover it.
Okay.
That's why I think it's important to choose somewhere affordable for the first date, right? Don't be starting your first date at like Fogo de Chao or a nice steakhouse, right? Like, come on, look, that's for when you're in a committed relationship. You're celebrating a special occasion, an anniversary. First date needs to be reasonable. Try and find free events to go to. New York always has free events. I'm sure every city has free events. You can, if you're creative and you know what they like and you can identify, the places that they would like to go to, you can build a really good date without dropping, solid
Yeah.
cash on it.
I agree.
For sure. All right. Well, then, since we're on the dating topic, story time. What's your craziest worst date you've ever had?
Yeah, I mean, outside the spies, which were all pretty bad, I guess the craziest date. It honestly, I was worried that it was like a not a date, but like a CIA pre-screening, right? Because
Okay.
the person was weird. Like, from the moment we sat down, like I asked them where they live in Manhattan, like in New York, and they're like, "Oh, I live on the East Side." Who says they live on the East Side? If you're from New York, you tell
Yep.
people exactly where you're from. Upper East Side, Lower East Side, Upper West Side. Like nobody would just say, "Oh, I live on the East Side," right? That's just to me
Yeah.
that something seems off, right?
Yeah.
I sit
Definitely.
down for this one date, and it's like an interrogation. They're like going over my work history. They're like,
What?
they, yeah,
What?
no, like within 10 minutes onto the date, they like pulled out their phone and they'd like stalked my LinkedIn profile based off where I said I worked. And they
Right in
were
front
like
of you.
going through job by job, like what I was doing at each job, asking about gaps in my resume. I was like, I was like,
What?
hey,
What?
right? Like, who does that, right? Rudest thing ever. Like, I'm sitting there just kind of like shocked. Like, it was the first time. Like, if we were sitting right next to the door, if she wouldn't have been able to see me if I like left, I might have run from that date. I tell you, I don't even know if I can consider it a date because of how bizarre it was. I mentioned like, I like to swim. I'm a big beach guy. If I can get in the water in the summertime, like I'm a happy guy. Whether it's a body of, it's an ocean, a pool, a hot tub, especially a hot tub, I tell you. So I'm always in the water.
Yeah.
One of the things I saw in about her, she's like, oh, I'm a swimmer. And so, she's asking me, she's like, what's your swimming time? I
What?
don't
What is?
know. I don't track my swimming time. She's like, yeah, but you're wearing an Apple Watch. I'm like, okay. She's like, so it should be tracked on your Apple Watch. I'm like, I guess I may have like, when I like was checking my calorie, my move ring, seeing if it's closed. I'm like, I might have put it in. She's like, I'm like, but I haven't had a pool in like a year. So she's like, well, go through your history. Tell me what your times were. So
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So I pull out my
What?
phone. I go back like a year and a half back to when I had a pool. I give up like, yeah, I got like 1,500 yards in an hour. She's like, oh, so you swim kind of slow then, huh? I'm like, what do you want from me? I'm like, listen, I swim for leisure, for relaxation, for enjoyment. I'm like, I'm not part of any types of teams. Like, listen, I'm not representing the United States at the Olympics here, right? Right? I mean, and it was just like that the whole date, like constant questions. She'd be like, oh, she's like, I see you had a gap for 1 month on your resume. I'm like, yeah, I got laid off. She's like, oh, and it took you a month to find a job. I'm like, honestly, a month to find a job is like record. I'm like, if you can get a job sooner, I'm like, by all means, share your wisdom with me. She's like, oh, I just, work at a hospital. I'm like, okay, like, great. Like, it was
What?
like, she's going through my history. She's like, why didn't you work at Goldman Sachs? I'm like, because I didn't. Like, what do you want? Like, why don't you work for a better hospital? Like, what do you want me to help with? Yeah, it was just antagonistic the whole time. It was like digs. And she's like, where are you interviewing for now? So I told her where I'm interviewing. She's like, how could somebody like you be interviewing for a job like that? I'm like, well, I just applied. She's like, oh, so you must be. She's like, so you must be pretty good on paper then, right? And I'm like, I'm like, okay.
Disrespect.
I'm like, okay, whatever. And so after like conversations like that for like 30 some odd minutes, she looks at me dead in the eyes and she says to me, "You haven't really asked me any questions about me. Are you not interested in getting to know me?" You know, I look at her for a couple seconds. I'm like,
The
that is absolutely correct. I'm like, are you a mind reader? I'm like, on top of everything else, I'm like, are you reading my mind here? That was hands down the worst date I ever went on.
Wait, how'd you get it to end though?
I just said, listen, I was like, honestly, I was like, as entertaining as this conversation has been to me, I'm like, I've had enough for today. So
Yeah.
I was like, I got the bill. I'm like, here's your share.
Oh, you split it? You
Yep.
split it?
Split the bill.
I
That's
show you
right.
Split that
20%.
bill. Split the bill, man. Waiter,
Yep,
please.
yep.
Split this.
Half and half,
You.
please.
Oh,
There I was out. I honestly didn't date for a long time after that. I needed to reset. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, this is New York dating. I'm like, I need to spend some time preparing.
he went home to change his resume to take off the
Yeah,
gap.
yeah, I gotta go back and edit my resume. I guess I got to be more close.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is a crazy date, man. I'll give it to you. You sat there for a good amount of time. I'd have left.
You
You
really
know,
entertained the
honestly,
shit out that. I ain't
it
gonna
was
hold
so
you.
insane that kind of like I just wanted more content, right? I was like, I can use this. I'm like, this is a routine at some point. This is, like next time there's an open mic or I get asked about dating questions, I'm like, this is gold here.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
it
I'm
came in
with
handy.
you
It
there.
came in handy.
Well,
So
now I'm curious. How'd that date even come about? Like, would you like go on a website or was?
yeah, that was a Tinder date.
Oh, you swiped
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Ah,
You know, it's crazy because you never really know a person until you meet a person. The person could seem the most normal person in the world on their profile,
definitely.
and then you meet them, and it's like night and day.
yeah.
But you know, I tell you what, every once in a while you get a real gem. Like the person I met this week, you know, I met them on Tinder. You know, honestly, I never expect any high expectations for a Tinder date. But I tell you what, you know, hit it off great. You know, we got a good thing going here. I'm excited to see where that goes. So, you know, I'm not trying to diss Tinder, you know, or any dating app. You never know, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
You can find a person well on that. You know, you may find your soulmate, but use discretion, right? Like you got to be a little careful here.
that's
Yeah.
true. No, listen, that it's funny. There was a story. I don't know if you ever heard about it. There was this. There was a different podcast guy, and he was talking with his. It was his girlfriend's best friend,
Hmm.
and she was telling this dude the craziest story of Tinder. Right?
Yeah.
She met this guy. They went on like a few dates. They hit it off pretty well, but didn't really go too far. And
Right.
so, out of the blue, he hits her up saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be in your city. Do you mind if I stay over?" She's like, "Oh, we had a good rapport, fine, but you have to sleep on the couch. You can't sleep. We're not sleeping
Right.
together or anything like that." It's like, no, respectful. It's fine. And so he comes in, he sleeps on the couch around 2 in the morning. He starts banging on her door. Right?
Mm-hmm.
She wakes up at night. She's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Please open the door. I need my charger." She's like, "Yo, you were never in my room to have a charger. Can you please stop banging on my door?" He's like, "Please open up the door right now, please." Instead of opening the door, she immediately gets scared. She calls the police. Right? About an hour later, police show up. They start knocking on the door. They announce themselves. "Please, miss, come out." The woman's like, "Okay," but the officer says, "Brace yourself for what you're about to see." She opens up the door. The entire living room has plastic everywhere and murder weapons. He was gonna murder her and decapitate her on some Dexter shit and get rid of her. Okay,
Yep.
Yep.
Tinder.
Tinder. Yeah, I
No,
mean,
you gotta watch. You gotta be really
Yeah,
careful. You gotta, yeah,
yeah,
no.
man.
If something
yeah,
doesn't feel right, it ain't
literally,
right. You know, trust your
yeah,
gut instinct on that kind of stuff.
1000%,
Nothing,
1000%.
nothing, nothing against Tinder. I got to put the protection out there. Nothing against
Right,
Tinder.
right, 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 right,
No,
right.
But
it ain't Tinder's fault.
just, just
It's the
be,
ones
be,
who try to
be
take
careful out
advantage.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
online dating is a thing. It is absolutely. You might get a couple good gems, but there are a lot of bad gems out there.
oh yeah. You gotta use discernment.
yep. Listen and listen if men and women, if you're looking to better get to know and scope out people, Max will have a online training course.
Always public, high visibility places, right? That's where you go for dates. No, be careful about car dates. Listen, if you know this person for a while, then let your guard down a bit. But until you really know these people, you've looked into their background. You're cautious. You never know what a person's trying to do, whether they're trying to scam you for something, what they're looking for. Take the time, lay the groundwork, get to know them, research their background. Don't be a creep, but you know you
Yeah.
gotta do a little. You gotta set the stage first. You gotta make sure everything's on the up and up. Make sure they have social media profiles. Take a look through it. Make sure there's some history there. Make sure they're real people.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like
I
that. I
wonder.
like
I
that.
wonder if that's what the lady was doing on that first date with Max. Except
Yeah.
she wanted to do it in person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's
know,
like, all right.
I don't recommend you do it in person. You keep the conversation light, keep it, engaged. Be interested in the other person. Don't interrogate them. Right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
That's
act
right.
natural, right?
Keep it
Act
natural.
natural, normal.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true.
All right. I like the advice you gave out there, man. I was almost gonna hit you with a follow-up questions, but to tell you, listen, top 3 things that you look for when you're on the date to really gauge a person. What are your top 3?
Yeah, honesty is so important, right? You got to be upfront with them about what you're looking for, and
Yeah.
have them be upfront with you about what they're looking for as well. Make sure your goals are aligned, right? Save
Yeah.
yourself the issue down the line. Figure out if you're incompatible quickly, right? Because a person, especially on a first date, is going to put on a persona, right? It's not going to be how they act normally for the
Yep.
most part, right? Maybe you get somebody that's really open and honest, but especially people living in New York or in certain other cities, you definitely are careful on first dates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
you know but it's important to take that time out of your date. Set aside some time at the end, talk about what the goals are, what are you looking for, what do you want this relationship to be. Set those up front on the first date so there's no ambiguity, so that there's no misalignment. And honestly, that'll set you up for further success, whether you're pursuing a relationship, even if it's honestly a one night stand. Not that that's something I'm particularly interested in, but blame it on the federal government. I try and get to know people. Don't want issues here, right?
No
Right.
doubt.
I'm not looking for a quick hookup, right? So be
Definitely.
upfront with your partner about it, and this way you save yourself a lot of issues. You save yourself a lot of trouble, and right away whether you're going to have a good date or not. Another thing I like to see is somebody that is somewhat active. They go out and do things, right? If somebody's sitting at home all day every day, when you're dating, that's how they're going to be like in a relationship, right?
Okay.
So if that's what you want, then that's great, right? But you need to make sure, figure out what the hobbies, the goals are, and don't pretend, like, don't change yourself for somebody else. Don't pretend you're interested in something you're not, right?
Yeah.
Because you can only fake that for so long. After a month or two, you can't keep faking that you're interested in XYZ, whether it's sports, whether it's, TV genres, whatever. Just be upfront.
Swimming. Yeah.
Right. Swimming, yeah, everything, right?
For
Uh,
sure.
so I guess alignment is some of the most important things. So I mean, those are the top things that I look for when I'm going out on a date, and I think that's what sets up a relationship for success. I would
I
say
love it. I love it. Nice.
open communication, communication. And it's important in everything, whether it's in your job, whether it's in school. Like I would say that's universal. Having the conversation, talking with everyone, gathering as many viewpoints as possible, so you can make the best and informed decision. I talk to everyone, no matter who they are, like whether they're somebody working at cashier checkout, especially if it's someplace I go often. I can tell you
Yeah.
so many times in college, my family wouldn't have to fill out any forms or something to come visit. They just drop by, they come right up, drop stuff off. I remember I had one friend, he tried to bring back somebody after hours, and he didn't have his ID, and the door guard gave him such a bad time, just because the guy was always a dick to the door guard too. Kindness costs nothing here, people. Don't shit where you eat.
That's right.
That's right.
Treat everyone with respect. treat people with decency, and like honestly, there's no reason not to, right? It costs nothing to give a hi, say hello, get to know people, right? Like it
For
costs
sure.
nothing. Obviously, there's some days you're not in the mood to talk to people. Sure, everyone has those days, but in general, just acknowledging that people exist goes a long way, right? So many people don't acknowledge other people walking down the streets, right? You're
Yeah.
Definitely.
not the main character of your own story. Everyone else, they have independent thoughts and actions, right? And you have to view it through that lens. Like you're not the main character here.
So okay, you wanna bring up the scenario for him, or you want me to ask my next question?
You answer your next question.
All right, cool. So, Max, you told me that you had a nice little trip in
Mm.
Korea.
Oh yeah, I took
Yeah, tell us about
advantage
that.
of took advantage of every single one of the breaks I had to go travel. And I have this really bad habit of getting sick right before a big trip or during a big trip.
Mm.
Happens like clockwork almost every time I go on vacation. Honestly, the last trip was the first time I didn't have a major injury or illness. All I did was roll my ankle. So I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay. All right.
So right as I'm getting ready to go to Korea, my roommate gets sick like the week before. So I go on to this trip with pneumonia right as the trip starts. And I'm going here for the Winter Olympics. It was the Winter Olympics in Korea that year. And I cleared it with the with the government because I had to send every travel plan in advance. Now, originally, my friends and I were gonna go to North Korea because they had tours from from China to North Korea. But
Wow.
the government got wind of my plan there. As you could imagine, they were less than thrilled with my idea, and they sent me some pretty clear guidelines that if I went to North Korea, I'd be in deep shit. So canceled the North Korea plans, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting as it would have been, as cool as it would have been to see, it wasn't worth the headache that it was going to drop on my head. So we settled for South Korea. I love South Korea. Great time. Maybe settled is not the right word, right?
Mm.
Completely different type of trip.
Definitely.
So, I went there with a group of like 5 or 6 friends with pneumonia myself. And I did, the kind thing that any good friend does. And I shared the love with the rest of them. So I gave all my pneumonia at the start of this trip. Within like the third day, like our Airbnb was a sick house. Like it was honestly just it was freezing cold. Like Korea in the winter is definitely a bit colder than New York. It's a little bit more north.
Oof.
And when you go to the winter Olympics, it'd be like going to Canada, right, in the middle of
Oh, wow.
January. It
Okay.
was cold. It was like the high was like in the teens with like the wind chills like in the negatives. It was
My
cold.
God.
Mm.
We all had pneumonia. We all had fevers, and so we're all kind of delirious in this Airbnb. And like, it's really like the temperature in this building was like fixed. We could not change it, and it was set to like almost 90 degrees. So we
Wow.
all have fevers. The heated floors are on, and we're all sick with pneumonia, right? Miserable time.
Damn.
So, I'm checking in with my handler every day. And my friend's like, hey, I found this bathhouse, like, that we can all go to. Like, maybe it'll allow us to feel more alive, more like people. So we go to this bathhouse, and just, one of the weird things, like, that's really different from American culture in Asia is bathing culture. Like,
Mm.
all
Okay.
like it's separated, men and women are separated, but in like your men's section, like everyone is just naked and just sitting around together having chats, and like they just stand there talking naked, which to an American is really uncomfortable, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to play it cool, but it's just fucking weird, right? Everyone's standing around talking, and because like my friend and I, like, first off, when I got there with my friend, I saw everyone's gonna be naked. I'm like, we're splitting up, like you, dude. I don't want to see you naked. I like so we agreed to split up. So I am the only white guy in this entire bathhouse, right? Because my friend is out doing his own thing. He's wherever. So I'm trying to just sit in the hot tub. I find an empty hot tub. I'm like, all right, I'm going in by myself. I don't need to like look at anyone. I don't need to talk to anyone. But I'm a bit of an oddity, right? I stand out. I come in wearing a Hawaiian shirt, a long sleeve Hawaiian, because it's cold out. So everyone's looking at me. I change. I get into the hot tub, and suddenly my hot tub is packed with all these Korean people, like from children all the way to like 95. And
What?
I'm like, thanks everyone for coming and joining me. And so everyone is trying to practice their English with me. So the people are sending their kids up. Oh, it's a white guy. Practice English with them. Like, show us what you learned in school. So like, I'm trying to like answer all these questions. Like, I'm getting bombarded with questions in English, and I'm just trying to like get the hell out of there, right? So finally, this guy gives me an out. He's like, there's like a traditional Korean treatment you can get for your skin. It's supposed to be like, it'll make your skin like soft and glossy. I'm like, all right, where is it? Like, I'm gonna go to that. I'm like, I'm trying to get out.
Mhm.
So he's like, oh, it's an extra $5. I'm like, $5, fine. In.
But quick question: Are you telling? So when everyone got in the hot tub, was everybody naked, including the
everyone is
kids and the
naked.
grandma and the...
It's just the grandfather. Like it's all men, right? But everyone is naked, and they're all trying to talk to me, and I'm like trying to get the hell out of here,
It's
right?
crazy.
Because I'm like, this is just
Crazy.
like, I can't do this. Like, this is not
All
what
right,
I want.
now, scenario question: you're sitting down in the hot tub, right?
Yeah.
When they're coming to ask you these questions, do they stand up in the hot tub and walk up to your face and ask you the question?
No. Luckily, they're all sitting down.
Oh, okay, all right.
So like, if they were doing that, I would have just got up and left. I would have said, "Fuck this place." I said, but see, the only problem is I needed my friend because my friend had the portable Wi-Fi, and I didn't know how to get back to our Airbnb.
Yeah.
We're in, like, I trusted him for the directions. I had no idea where I was. I'm somewhere in Korea, right? Like I don't know. I don't know where in Seoul I was, so I had no idea how to get back. So I take this out. I go to get this Korean skin treatment. So I'm wrapped up in a towel, and I lie down on this. I guess it's like a bench, wooden bench, and this ancient Korean guy comes in. Must have been like almost 100 years old. And I'm laying down on the table. And the first thing he does, he tells me to roll over. So I roll, I roll onto my back. And the first thing he does is he grabs the towel and just yanks it off me. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay, nice to meet you too. It's like a bucket of hot water and just throws it on me. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And he takes this thing like sandpaper and just scrapes my entire body, takes off all the dead skin on my body. Honestly, I was smoother than a baby's ass. Like I've never had that smooth skin in my entire life. But I tell you what, I was completely traumatized because that man was thorough. He didn't leave any spot unscraped. I'll leave it to your imagination. It was,
my God.
It was honestly traumatizing. I was traumatized. Truly, fully, like, worst experience of my life up to that point. Like, hands down. And so after that, I'm like, I've had it. I'm down. I'm out. Like, get me the hell out of here. So I'm trying to find my friend. Mind you, both of us have pneumonia, right?
Right.
We're delirious with fever. We're like sick off our ass. And I'm just like, all right, like I've just been traumatized. I can't get married anymore. I need an adult. I'm gonna go hug my shoulders and rock back and forth in a corner for a couple hours. So I'm looking for my friend. Can't find him. Took me 3 hours because this was like a 10-story bathhouse. Like the place was like a mall.
Damn.
All with baths. They had a co-ed floor where everyone was dressed. I guess I should have started there and should have stayed there. And had I known that it existed, that is where I would have stayed.
It's fair.
They didn't really have any hot tubs on that floor, which I was looking to unwind, relax a little. I didn't get any relaxation, right? There was no unwinding. Eventually, after 3 hours of looking, I was texting my other friends who are also sick and don't want to be bothered. They're like, "Hey, I can't find our other friend. Like, do I leave him? What do I do? Like, did he come back? Did he leave? Like, where is he?" Yeah. Everyone's like, "We don't know." Like, none of us could get in touch with him. After several hours of searching, I find him passed out in like the ice room next to a sauna. Like he just completely passed it from the fever.
Oh,
he just passed out in one of like the cold rooms. I was like, luckily he must not have been passed out long because otherwise he would have had hypothermia. But, I got the guy. I dragged him out. We're both pretty traumatized from the experience. I'm like, I had enough for one day. Like, let's get back to the Airbnb and try and forget this.
Yeah, it's time to go to sleep.
Oh my gosh,
God
it was a lot. It
damn.
was a mess. Yep.
Yeah.
We tried. We went to some hotel and casino. I think we were all 20 at the time, except my one friend was 21. You need to be 21 in Korea to gamble. So we stayed at this casino
Mm,
hotel
yeah.
when we moved to the other city we were in, and I gave him one of my Hawaiian shirts, or it was a like long sleeve multicolor shirt. And I said, you know, the guy is like maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, 120 pounds soaking wet. So this shirt looked like a dress on him. I'm a pretty big guy, and I look at him. I take a picture. I said, "All right, you're ready to gamble now," because we got all these vouchers, and
Yeah.
so we went with them. They actually wouldn't let any of us in because your whole party had to be 21. But it was worth a shot. So we
Okay.
do the Olympics. It was an amazing experience. Crazy, crazy time. I loved it. Once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Nice.
And I got to submit my travel plans to my handler, right? So I'm in Incheon Airport in Seoul. I sent my handler. I'm like, okay, I'm heading back to Korea. I'll contact you once I arrive in Shanghai, and follow up. For the report.
Yeah.
So I get back to Shanghai, and it was kind of a rough trip. I kind of wanted to forget a lot of parts of that trip, especially the bathhouse.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Trying to get that off my mind. So my friends and I, we go out drinking the minute we arrive back in China.
Yeah.
And I go out, great night, good night with friends. I get back, I pass out. Never contacted my handler. Woke up, the last message the bureau got was, I'm on my way to I'm in Incheon Airport, heading towards Shanghai. I'll report back in 2 hours. Didn't report for almost 24 hours after that. Um, as you can imagine, the government was less than pleased. I had to file a whole bunch of additional reports. I had a whole bunch of follow-up calls. Some of my friends had gotten messages from various, government agencies asking for my position. It was a mess. It was a mess. So, I guess the moral of the story is always be sure to fulfill your responsibilities and duties as prescribed to you by the federal government of the United States of America.
That's right. That's right. And don't go into bathhouses you're not prepared for.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
do your due diligence, right? Like you're going to it's not like going to a spa in the States or in New York. There's all kinds of nice spas where you can go just relax, have a good time in a hot tub. You're in your bathing suit, you're comfortable. It's not like that in Asia. It's not like that. It's a
Wow.
different culture. Do
Very
your
good
due
to know.
diligence and your research before you go, so you don't get traumatized.
Yeah.
That's right.
Learn
Yeah.
from me. Learn from my life advice here. Save yourself the trauma.
Yeah.
That's right. Hold,
Because I ain't
hold
gonna
on.
hold you. That
Whose
baby
background
bottom
is that
skin
with the
sounded
police?
good.
Who's the police coming for?
I think it's
Probably
him.
for me.
I think it's him. They're coming for him.
I went into too much details on the chat. We're all gonna get shut down.
They coming for somebody.
They're gonna be knocking on all our doors.
Oh man. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? In Shanghai, right? I think you remember you were telling me something about, was it a friend that was a girl? She was like brushing her teeth with the water or something like that. What happened with that? I forgot what
Oh yeah, so that was one of my classmates. So the water in China is not good. Like it's not safe to drink. There's all kinds of parasites. There's all kinds of heavy metals in the water. Like you got to be really careful
mm,
like the water you drink. So usually everywhere you go, there'll be a filtered water station where you can get filtered water, or there'll be a pot where you can boil it in your room first. So it'll boil it, and it'll at least kill any bacteria. The boiled water has a weird taste to it,
yeah.
especially when it's boiling. Like, you know, not exactly a fan, but that's the only way to get fresh, safe water to drink. Like if you just drink the tap water, you're gonna get sick. One of my classmates, she brushed her teeth with the tap, and I always used the filtered station and would just fill up a cup with water and use that to brush my teeth.
Yeah.
She, I guess she, it was a long day. She didn't feel like using the filtered station. She's just like, yeah, screw it. Like, and to be honest, listen, there were a couple times where I wasn't in the mood to go to the filtered water station, and I used the tap water myself. But listen, you got to be really careful. No swallowing after you use that tap water. You got to rinse your mouth out with like filtered water like 4 or 5 times just to be safe. She didn't do that, and all of a sudden, she was in immense pain. Like a day or two later, they thought she was having appendicitis.
Wow.
No, what happened was she swallowed a little bit of the tap water, and got a drug-resistant parasite that needed all kinds of heavy-hitting antibiotics to like take out. But like, you got to be so careful. Like, I had never been so sick before I went to China that I never thought I needed to go to a hospital. Like, I'd never been that sick
Damn.
before I went to China. There were a couple times where I got so sick in China where I was like, one time I actually did need to go to the hospital. I got so badly food poisoned that I couldn't even keep down water. Like I would take water in and it come right out. Whichever
Damn.
one was coming out, it was coming out. Like you couldn't even drink water. I was so dehydrated from the experience. I had to go get an IV to recover. So
Wow.
Damn.
yeah. So
That's not good at all.
we take our tap water for granted in the States. I know here in New York we like to claim we have the best tap water. So you enjoy like and everyone's still so anal about using the Brita filters. They're like, oh, I gotta filter my water to make sure there's no whatever in it. Yeah. Listen, New York tap water you can drink is fine. Maybe you don't like the taste, whatever, but you ain't gonna get a drug resistant parasite from drinking the water here.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. So count your little blessings, right? It's the little things in life that just you take with you.
Definitely. All right, no doubt. Got something, man?
No, I'm waiting for you to ask me a question, man.
All right, man. Listen, I got another question for you, sir.
Yeah, what you got?
What do you believe, or better yet, what do you think the hardest lesson you've ever learned that you're grateful you have now?
Yeah. I would say one of the best things about my time spent abroad is the independence that I got from it. When you go, basically, I was on the other side of the world, right? So you're completely cut off from your friends and family. There's a 13-hour time difference, so even if you want to call somebody back home, you're either calling early in the morning or late at night, right? So you're completely cut off from your support network. Like if any problems come up, you got to be the one to solve them. Like you have to take care of them. How you solve them is up to you. Whether you have friends that can help you, whether you are, truly, fully independent. Whether you can overcome a language barrier by yourself. But one of the things I've taken away is, I'm so much more confident when traveling abroad. Like even if I don't speak the language, I have had that lived experience of being in a completely different culture. Learning how to adapt. Making friends. Who have completely different worldviews than you, and honestly, you just become better at dealing with situations. You can't turn to like your parents or to your support network if something goes wrong and you're in Asia, right?
Makes sense.
My one friend went out one night, got into a bar brawl, almost died. Now his parents like flew to China like 5 days later, but like there was nothing like they could do in the moment, right? If something like that happens, like my friend, luckily one of my I hadn't gone out that night just on chance.
Yeah.
None of the friends that were with him really spoke any Chinese, so it took him like 2 hours to get a taxi to take him to the hospital. Like
Damn.
first, like the one guy knew how to say doctor, but like it didn't translate properly, so like the cab driver had drove him to like a pharmacy, and then like they didn't take him to the right hospital. They took him to like a local hospital rather than an international hospital, and it was like, had he had somebody there with him that had spoke better Chinese, it would have been quicker. Now, luckily, he wasn't in life-threatening danger. He just had like a massively bruised face, and he had to wear like a big gash. And basically, he got suplexed by Russian gangsters at the bar.
Oh,
I mean, a full German suplex. Like it was like I was described as like, which he was drunk at the time, so like the Russian told him to turn around. I wouldn't have turned around in that situation, but I guess he wasn't. And like the guy is like really thin. He's got like a big, blonde hair. Like you look at him and you're like, yeah, I could beat that guy up. Like love the guy to death, but like you just look at him and you're like, yeah, I could take him in a fight. And so he attracts all the worst attention in a bar. Like when he goes out, like any type of scammer. Like I got roofied with him once in Hong Kong. That's a whole nother story. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, like he just attracts so much trouble when we go out, just because people look at him and they're like, yeah, I could take advantage of that guy, right?
Wow.
So, but like again, like he navigated that by himself. He figured out the Chinese healthcare system. He was able to get his treatment, and we all laugh about the story to this day. And I guess he has a lingering dislike for Russians, but I can get it, right? Like I understand it. It makes sense to me. But like, when you're abroad like that, like you just have to take care of things by yourself. And so, I feel like what I took away was, I'm so much more independent. I can deal with problems when they come up. I have much more resilience because,
Okay.
when you're dealing with frustrating situations or like, dealing with cultural differences and trying to understand them and work through them, like you just have like a higher tolerance. I has to say, like more patience when like trying to resolve situations or work through issues and difficulties. So that's what I took away from it, and that's what I would say I'm most thankful for.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. I like that.
You got another question
Yeah.
stolen in your head, Kenny?
All right. So now, since we've gotten that out the way, scenario time.
Mm-hmm.
Say you think on your feet. In this scenario, you're at a bar.
Uh-huh.
There are two women. One woman is a blonde, the other one is a brunette. They're both drinking cocktails, staring at you heavily
Yeah.
with your best Hawaiian shirt on.
Perfect. I like it.
One, the blonde woman walks up. She sits on your left. Brunette sits on your right. First thing they ask you is, "Can I buy you a drink?"
Uh-huh.
What are you ordering?
A pina colada for sure.
My guy.
It's on character. It's on theme. I'm also holding my pockets carefully because I'm waiting to see which one is going to try to steal my phone.
Okay.
Which one's trying to steal my phone, and which one is trying to slip something in the pina colada I just ordered?
Okay. This is good. All right. Now, you get tapped on the shoulder.
Uh-huh.
You turn. It's a redhead. Now she's lingering behind you with her arm wrapped around you. And now the blonde one says, "Hey, what do you want to do after?"
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Your response is,
And my response is, yeah, in that situation, I'm letting them have my pina colada because I'm assuming something slipped into it. I'm assuming that if I say, let's hang out more with you, I'm going to be robbed for everything I'm worth. They might even take the Hawaiian shirt off my back. Listen, I'm proud of those Hawaiians, right? So I'm pretty sure, I'm going to wake up, in a gutter somewhere on the side of the street, without any shoes, without any pants, without any Hawaiian shirt. I'm just going to be there in my underwear, in need of a good shower and working off the headache from being roofied. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's right. I am 100% with Max. There's no way. That's too good, and it's not going down. I refuse. As soon as
Yep.
the third one would have came up to me, I'd have
Yep.
left.
The third one seals the deal. Like then you're about to be a victim of some type of criminal enterprise. There's no winning in that scenario,
Yeah, it's
right?
done.
Like whether it's criminal, whether it's spies, like there's something up. There's something up. Maybe those are the Russians. Those are the Russians.
All these other men in here, y'all came up to me. No, something's wrong. All three of you?
"It's the third, man.
No.
Maybe one. Maybe of one. Maybe I think, okay, well, there's somebody with some interesting taste here at the bar. Maybe I can, maybe I can be friends with this person. But three of them come up. No, that's a targeted move. There's nothing good coming out of that. Like unless you're an internationally known movie star or you're pretty famous, like that's not happening to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt any guys' egos who are watching. But if you're in that situation, run, think on your feet. Trust your gut. Trust your common sense. You're not that popular. Now, listen, that FBI agent gave me the best advice anyone could ever get. You're not good looking enough for that. Nobody is. Nobody is. Listen, everyone needs their ego torn down every once in a while, right? Like, your ego gets too up. Like, listen, the guy's doing you a favor. Like, I'm here to be that guy for you. I'm tearing down your ego for you. I'm sorry. It's tough love, but it needs to be said.
Well played. Well played.
Like, I'm here all week.
Oh man, this is
Right.
fun.
My question is the closing question. So
Sure, what is that?
let's ask him. So to end it off, let me mark this real quick. All right, Max, it's a pleasure having you here. But to end it off, I'm gonna ask you this: with all the chaos that's been in your life, what is the advice that you would give to someone trying to find love in this chaotic world that you have a different view in than anybody else?
Yeah. I think before you actually try and find love, square away your own situation. Have yourself built a good support system. Well, even if you're not good on good terms with your family, surround yourself with good people that can offer you outside perspective, right? A good group of friends that'll tell you no bullshit what you need to hear. Not
Mm.
somebody that's going to tell you what you want to hear. Have friends that are willing to tell you the truth, no matter how much it may or may not hurt your ego, right? Once you have that support system around you, once you're secure in yourself, that's the most important thing. Be secure and confident in yourself. Don't let anybody you may go out on a date that completely tears you down, that like makes you think you need to change who you are. Like, you don't need to change yourself. Don't be strange. Don't be creepy, right? Obviously there's a base level you need to have. You need to be able to work in social situation. Honestly,
For
even
sure.
if you're creepy, you'll resolve that through practice, right? Like you learn to talk to like nobody's naturally good at talking to people.
That's
It's a
correct.
skill you develop over time. Put
Yep.
yourself in those uncomfortable situations, whether it's public speaking, whether it's giving a presentation to a small group or at your social clubs or whatever you're in. Get comfortable talking to people and being natural in conversation, right? Being
Yep.
a good conversationalist will open so many doors for you that would be closed otherwise. You'll be able to talk your way out of bad situations. You'll be able to put yourself into positions you would never think you'll be able to be in. It'll make you more successful in your career. It'll make you have an easier time finding friends. Being able to start at talking about the weather and turning that into a question about their background, their family history, how they grew up, you'll find the things needed to keep a conversation going, right? It's all about using everyday statements to kind of mine for details in conversation that you can use to go deep.
Nice.
All
Very
right.
nice. Fucking well said, sir.
I
Definitely
do what
well
I
said.
can.
You do very well. All right. Damn, that was good. That was good. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie
man.
to you. It's funny. You gave a great closing question. I won't say anything else, but do you have any Italian in you by any chance?
You may have come through just a little bit with the chain,
You
and
know,
I don't know if the Italian accent comes through. Sometimes people tell me that ask me to say I'm walking here. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I get that so much. Is the tourists? The tourists always come up. They'll ask me for directions, and
yeah.
they'll be like, "Do you happen to be Italian?" I've never been able to figure out what gives it away. I,
Dude,
I, I honestly don't. I honestly don't.
no, because the chain and the way you talk is this. You do
Yeah.
this, and it's
I,
like
I don't see it. I
like you
truly
could have
don't.
been you definitely could have been some sort of like the funny hitman that they call when they need something cleaned up.
I get that
Yeah.
so often, especially when I used to meet all kinds of shady people in China. People would say, that's the second question I get asked. You know, what's your are you Italian? And then how involved are you in organized crime? I don't get why. How involved? It shouldn't it be? Are you involved in organized crime? Why do people just
No.
assume? Right? I walk down the streets at night and like people move to the other side of this. I had an old man run to the other side of the street because he was worried that I was following him. An old man. I didn't even know what to do. I could get a young woman walking at night. Like I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'1", 6'2", big guy.
Mhm.
I could get like a woman being afraid with me behind them at night. But this was like a middle-aged man, like looking over his shoulder before he's running up. Honestly, it's cold, so I'm walking with one hand in my pocket, and I'm wearing a long trench coat and my long sleeve Hawaiian. So I get it a little bit, but it's hurtful. It's hurtful. I'm not involved in any organized crime here. Listen, maybe one day I'll open a laundromat. Us Italians, we love our cash businesses, but
Don't
That's right.
that's
don't feel
not
bad, man.
the
Don't
line.
feel bad. He probably thought he knew he owed money to somebody. He thought they were telling you coming to collect. That's what it
Right.
was. All right.
And, if people want to just put money in my hand, I'd be more than happy to accept, generous donations. But, listen,
Right.
rent is tough here in New York.
Oh yeah.
Anything any help I can get
That
to
ain't
cover
kidding.
my rent. There's some guys willing to just give me a stack of cash on the street. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's
Well,
facts
Max, I can tell. We definitely gonna have to bring back Max back on, man.
for sure, man. He
'Cause I
got a
know.
lot to go through, man. Like we
Yeah.
didn't even touch the surface of this man's
Yeah. We just
plethora
barely
of
put a scratch in that
facts.
iceberg, and I know a lot of our viewers are gonna want him to come back
For
because there's a
sure.
lot of stories that he put a little bit out there for. But Max,
A little tease.
yeah, man, you're
Yeah,
welcome back here anytime.
for
Kenyon
sure.
will arrange anytime that he has. All right.
Folks, it's
Hey,
can't wait.
we gonna close it out right here. Max, you got any last things to say?
No, thanks for having me, guys. I had a good time today. I'm always happy to delve into the interesting and unique situations I find myself thrust into. So, thanks for having me, guys.
My
Thank you.
guy. Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here, man.
My
For sure.
pleasure. My pleasure.
We definitely will have you coming back onto this show. Family, welcome again to Love and Chaos. We're out of here. But feel free, reach out anytime you want to. We'll be here to help you. Our number is 762-253-0813. Or you could just email us at bxdynasty718@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Ken, we out of here, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. Peace.